don't care where they leave it.
Okay.
Move that. Yeah. Okay. We've been working on some things.
We'll call the
Okay. Yeah.
Tuesday, September 28th Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting to order. We will start with the invocation with Clyde and followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you all would please stand.
Would you bow with me, please? Heavenly Father, we come to you in prayer tonight, thanking you for this opportunity of gathering here. We know that we are truly a blessed community and a blessed nation, and this is one of the freedoms that we have. But we also know, Heavenly Father, that even within this community, there are those who are suffering. There are those who have lost loved ones, and there are those who have sickness in their family. We ask that you be with each of those people, those families. God, guide and direct them. We also ask that you give us, as we prepare for this meeting, spiritual wisdom and guidance, that the decisions that we make will be beneficial in the long run and short run for the citizens of Franklin. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Clyde. Item number 4 are statements from citizens on issues that are not, items that are not on this agenda. If anyone wishes to address this body, now is the time to do that. Seeing none, we'll go on to item number 5, communication from Williams County Mayor and Williams County Commission. I see none here. Item number 6, approval of minutes, September 14, 2010 work session, September 14, 2010 Board of Mayor and Alderman. There a motion?
Move approval. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 7, I will show this and we'll hang it somewhere very prominent. I got to move it around so everybody can see it. There we go. I'm going to read this. This is from the Fieldstone Farms HOA. Dear city officials and employees, on behalf of the 84-some households of Fieldstone Farms affected by the May flood, we extend our deepest gratitude to our city government for all your assistance in the immediate aftermath of the flood and following. Thank you to the Solid Waste Department in particular for supplying and servicing the dumpsters on our affected streets. We're also grateful to the street departments for making road repairs, the building and neighborhood department for waiving permit fees, and all the utility workers, administrators, and many others who have faithfully assisted our flooded families in rebuilding their properties and returning to normal life. As we continue to recover and move forward along with the other residents of our beautiful city, we're reminded again what a privilege it is to be part of the Franklin community. So I want to congratulate all the employees and thank Fieldstone Farms for recommending that. And Eric, you can hang this proudly on your wall.
Find a good place for it.
All right. Very nice. Okay. Any miscellaneous reports? All right. Item number 9 is consent agenda. We do we do need to move item number 28. We're going to ask to defer that, so I'm going to pull item 28. Anything else? If not, do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda with removing item 28?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, raise your hand. Motion carries. Item number 10, we're on to old business. This is a public hearing. Consideration of ordinance 2010-38 to be entitled an ordinance to rezone 0.7 acres from medium residential to residential variety for property located along Eddy Lane between Glencoe Court and Lucinda Court. This is a public hearing. Does anybody wish to address this body on that subject? Seeing none, I will declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion? Can I have a motion?
For approval.
And a second? Yes?
May I discuss?
You may.
I'm a little bit concerned because there was a lot of conversation about this development, and from the way they were concerned about it, I thought this place would be full tonight. But since no one is here, I will ask a question that was conveyed to me, that if this condition RX was approved, that they could do anything they wanted to, which is not the case. Am I correct?
Alderman Martin, the case would be, with the concept plan, there is entitlements attached to the project. Those entitlements only allow for 5 units. 4 are already existing, so it would only allow for an additional unit on this site.
Any other questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. That was the second of 3 readings. Item number 11 is also a public hearing. Consideration of Resolution 2010-39, a resolution approving a concept plan for Eddie Thompson PUD totaling .7 acres located along Eddie Lane between Glencoe Court and Lucinda Court by the City of Franklin, Tennessee. This is a public hearing. Anybody wish to address this body on that subject? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm saying aye, but I want to make a comment, and part of it is in response to your concern. You know, we have talked several times, or mentioned several times, that whenever we are looking at a concept plan that goes along with the rezoning, we have been considering them separately, and there was some interest in trying to go back to what we had done before so that the concept plan was a part of the rezoning. And I think that would have answered your concern there, because when it just says RX, even though they can't just do anything, there are a lot more options there. And so I would like to request, I don't know if I need a motion, I'll be glad to make one, that we ask the staff to look into an amendment to the zoning ordinance to go back and recombine the concept plan.
I don't think you need a motion. We'll just direct staff to go ahead and do that,
Thank you.
present
We
something.
can bring something back to
Bring
work
something
session to
work session.
To a
talk about
work session,
process
yes.
and where you, options and where you go.
Okay. Everybody happy with that?
I knew that this concept plan approval was coming up, but for the benefit of anyone listening, I just didn't want them to think that was
Right.
that was not the case.
And I think that what you've brought up, though, is a concern that ideally would be addressed by going back to or going to some form of the old not practice, but the old rule that we have had for many, many, many years, whenever we first started PUDs.
And we've had several discussions.
That's
about
right,
that,
we
so I
have
think
mentioned
we
that
do
several
need to-
times. This reminded me.
I didn't ask for the negative vote. I got stuff, so I don't think
I'm
there was a
sorry.
negative vote on that, if I'm correct. So that was unanimously passed. Okay. Item number 12 is a public hearing, consideration of ordinance 2010-45 entitled an ordinance to revise the permitted uses in the scientific research overlay zoning district. This is a public hearing, and I see someone ready to speak on that.
Brian Eccles from Tyson Harbison. I represent Iron Horse Park LLC, as I think most of you know. Since we are typically the target for the foreseeable future of this overlay, I had provided some earlier comments to each of you by email. I trust you got those. I also addressed the Planning Commission on this issue. Very simply, the chief concern is the permitted use of clinics. The amendment that you have before you would allow that a clinic use as an accessory use only to one of the what it calls scientific research uses, although what those are is not defined at all and very unclear. Interestingly enough, though, a hospital would be permitted as a use in this overlay zone. A clinic, as you know, is distinguished from a hospital only by really, it's a smaller scale, but it also has no inpatient versus outpatient only, as your zoning ordinance defines clinics. And it is appropriate, we believe, that clinics be permitted in this overlay. Really, there's no intent, particularly on our property, that a hospital be concerned, but a clinic is likely to be involved in the potential uses that have been discussed and that are currently being discussed for this property. And because we are a property that's likely to have this overlay placed on it, I would ask that the board consider an amendment to this ordinance to remove the word clinic from the Section 2B list of uses that are accessory uses, and to add clinics as a permitted use in Section 2A of the ordinance. I'm happy to answer any questions, but that's what we're requesting.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Anybody else? If not, I will declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion on item 12?
Move for approval.
And a second?
Second.
Discussion? Yep.
I agree with this because, with what Mr. Eccles had said, because when this came before us originally, I couldn't understand why hospital would be in there when, because I didn't think that that was something that we were very interested in, that site. But I look at this and think, every time you look at medical facilities today, one of the major things that they emphasize is getting in and getting out. And clinics are trying to treat people, especially in cancer centers all over the United States, are treating people on a daily basis, and they're called clinics some way or other because they treat the people go, and a lot of times they spend the night in hotel and motel rooms because they need to have 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 day treatments. But they're not required to stay in the facility, especially if you're talking, if proton therapy ever did happen on that site. That's something that gives very little effects to a person, and they're able to really function and go out, take their treatment, go out and actually go to dinner that night or shopping or go back to the hotel room if they're needing to lie down. But I can see where clinics really need to be in that area, and I was here at the Planning Commission meeting when that was discussed. So I would like to make an amendment. I do believe clinics belongs in 2A, and my amendment would be to remove clinics out of 2B and put it into 2A where I believe it does belong.
Second.
Discussion on the amendment?
I suppose whenever this was proposed, that we were attempting to allow the scientific research primary use, and there was a concern about the ordinance as it was written at the time, that there could just be offices and could be other uses that did not tie into the primary use. And I believe this is a part of that ongoing work to try to ensure that the uses that are permitted there would tie into the overall idea. And in that sense, I think that a clinic that we're talking about here would be directly related to the primary use. So I'm not sure that I see that a totally unrelated clinic would be permitted. I believe someone actually said to me, what about a methadone clinic there? But if you say clinic, then that is the type of thing that would be allowed if you just have clinics as a use. And that's just one example there. But as I say, I think we were trying to work with this to tie in the permitted uses to the primary use, which people were very definitely interested in, the scientific research there. And so I don't think I would like to open it back up.
Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
from a staff perspective, I'll lead into Catherine, I think, responding to this, but I did see the email that Mr. Eccles sent you, and there could be an impression from that we did not meet with him in discussing this. We did. We met with him frequently. We just didn't agree on this issue. So I just want to make that clear, because I had an impression when I saw that there might be a feeling that we didn't include him. We did. We just didn't agree on this point. And I'll let Catherine kind of describe how we got to where we are and how this relates, I think, somewhat related to Alderman Peterson's point as well.
Yes. And as this first came before you, one of the permitted uses was a hospital. There were no accessory uses such as office, education, or clinic. They just didn't exist in the first draft. Those have been added as accessory uses, and as Alderman Peterson has indicated, the word clinic is broadly drawn. It could mean anything, and staff was very concerned about the possible meaning of that going down the road. Now, we understand that right now we're looking at a project that may take place, but it hasn't taken place yet. We don't have the plans for it. We're trying to do an overlay zone that deals with scientific research. We're not sure what that clinic is until we see the plans for it, and by that time, it's a permitted use or an accessory use, depending on what this board should decide.
They're not prohibited,
So-
they're just accessory
Right.
uses. They're
That is
not the
correct.
primary use
But-
of the property.
Question.
Yeah.
Then how does the proton therapy become an accessory use? When it's a clinic, it's a major use. So,
Major uses are hospitals and scientific research. The accessory uses are the actual clinic where people would come in, check in, have treatments.
I
Yeah.
don't know, the research I've done in proton therapy centers, they are clinics, and that's their major use. They have scientific research going on there and other things, but their major thing, proton therapy centers in Texas and Virginia and those places are major uses. That is their major, they're a clinic where people come in to get treated.
Right.
And so I don't know how that becomes,
And if that's what we
Secondary.
wanted to make a permitted use, would be a proton clinic, that would be fine, but right now it just says clinic, without defining that term.
I still think it's mumble jumble.
Yes.
Intuitively, it seems to me that if you were going to have a hospital and a clinic, and that one would be a permitted use, and that one would be a ancillary use, or a, what's the term? An
Accessory.
accessory use, that they would be reversed from what we have in this proposition, because it seems to me that this ordinance specifically enables, as a permitted use, a hospital,
Yes.
which sounds to me intuitively like a more elaborate, intensive, larger scale use than a clinic, and yet we are saying that you could not build merely a clinic there if that were your primary use. It just seems intuitively sort of backwards, and maybe even that they either ought to both be permitted uses, or maybe neither. To me, just without, we're not doing this because of a specific project or idea for a project. We need, we may never have anyone make application under this zoning overlay. That may never happen, but if it does, we need to have the rules right to begin with. And I just have a hard time understanding why we would create a rule that said, if you want a hospital, you can have that as a permitted use, but you can't have a clinic as a permitted use. You can only have a clinic as an accessory use. I get we also have a scientific research facility as a permitted use, but it just seems to me that on the order of kind of burden on the neighborhood, infrastructure, what have you, that hospital is probably a greater risk than clinic.
But let us recall, this is the scientific research overlay.
I understand.
It's not just a medical facility in that sense. And so, and maybe I should go back and say, thinking about from the planning aspect of it, this was, when we went in to put the scientific research overlay as an overlay, then these were not included. They have been added back in.
That is correct.
So it's that we're becoming more,
You're saying the
inclusive.
exceptions begin to swallow the rule, kind of.
well, yeah, because we're really working to the scientific research overlay, and these were not
Right, they were not part of the
They were not
original.
part of this, and now they are being allowed. They are being allowed now.
As an accessory use.
Yes, that's right. Kind of tied to the scientific research concept.
Well, let me make sure I understand here. The way we have this written, if we passed it as written and not as proposed to be amended, if we passed it as written, private hospital company could come in and have permitted use to build a hospital. Correct?
Well, but it
Okay.
says as a scientific research primary use. Do you see what I'm saying? That's not the same thing as just
It's not defined.
a hospital
It says
coming in.
hospital.
And because I thought this was what
Well-
we were trying to allow, but tie down, because I don't know whether you remember or not, when we first passed this, it would have allowed in any kind of office, period.
Yes.
And so
I
then,
remember.
that's when we went back, you know, when we talked about that. And so then whenever we put the scientific research overlay on it,
Well, I guess then, if the overlay is intended to assure that whatever is there, its primary function is as a scientific research facility, then I think it matters a lot less whether you call what else is there a hospital or a clinic. I mean, the difference is, I'm not sure I know what the difference between, because if the idea is that we're going to have a scientific research facility there that also has patient treatment functionality, then I just don't know that it makes a lot of difference whether you call that patient treatment functionality building a hospital or a clinic.
well, I think that that's what this is allowing. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm just not.
I thought a
Thinking it-
hospital indicated you were having overnight stays
But
for
see,
treatment, but a clinic, you just go there from 9 to 5.
but I think this is what this is allowing. I mean, I think this is adding it in. Maybe I'm
You
missing
think it's
something.
adding the hospital?
No, it's adding the clinic in
As
as
a-
an allowable
as an
use.
Ancillary use, though.
As an allowable use.
With or without a scientific research function?
I don't think that.
No.
I mean, as long as the requirement is first and foremost that the overlay allows only some kind of scientific research facility to be the driver of the project, then whether you call what else is there and with it, clinic or hospital, may not make much difference. It's really only if you are maybe inadvertently saying, well, you could build a hospital that doesn't necessarily have a scientific research function.
Could I say, that would have just been, gosh, what is our zone? Institutional, thank you. If it had just been institutional, that would have allowed a hospital there. But it allowed a bunch of other things too, besides the hospital.
Yeah, funeral homes.
So,
and-
that's right, that's right. So whenever the scientific overlay was put with this,
Good at the hospital. They got a funeral already.
please,
It doesn't matter how good you are at being a hospital, eventually you're going to need a funeral home. Life is 100% fatal.
but the overlay though was to limit what the regular civic institutional use was there. And so, but then the overlay, as it was originally projected, did not allow clinics and, educational facilities as a part of it. So as I understand it, this is now allowing that.
Right, it is allowing it as a secondary use, an
That's right.
accessory use to the main use of the research overlay.
But the clinic itself could be the scientific research
Oh,
facility.
it could.
could.
So,
Sure,
so
but it's a
if
secondary use.
their number one priority was to do scientific research, and
Right.
as part of that, there's a clinic, the building, we're kind of getting into buildings and rather than concepts, I
We need
think.
to understand this, though.
So, well, I
know,
agree, and we don't have to do anything tonight if we choose to. We can have more discussion on it if we want to, but
Yeah. maybe we
Describe,
need to
describe
have-
maybe how the hospital is classified, just to be clear.
The hospital is classified as a permitted use in this scientific overlay zone. So that would be a use that would be permitted, but it would be a scientific research. You know, the purpose of this particular overlay is that it's a master planned, scientific research-oriented campus that would allow a hospital as a permitted use, allow rehabilitation centers and research laboratories as permitted uses, and then offices, educational, and clinics as secondary uses
Well, then-
in part of the master
Then
plan.
then I reiterate, if we are talking about an overlay that restricts any use to being principally one of scientific research type use, then I don't know how it makes much difference. I just don't know how we take hospitals and clinics and separate them from permitted and accessory. They should both be in the same category, to me. They should both either be permitted uses or permitted accessory uses, but it makes little sense to me to put one in the one category and the other in the other.
And I think the answer from staff would be the staff felt that the clinic was too broadly drawn and that we didn't know what we would get in terms of a clinic. And, you know.
I mean, do we
obviously
have
that
any
was our-
clinics here that are scientific research clinics? I mean, we have many clinics here, but I don't think we have any of them that are tied to scientific research. And I thought that was the purpose of this, was to have scientific research.
But not necessarily would it be,
No, I'm asking, is that their principle? I mean, I know the hospital does scientific research, and biotherapeutics did too.
But that's
But
not
I don't think
primary.
I do not think that they were clinics. I mean, what I'm,
Therapeutics was a clinic big time.
but what I'm trying to say is that at that time, they were permitted under our old zoning ordinance.
Can I throw another wrinkle in I just thought of? I'm
Okay.
maybe completely off base. Well, not yet, but.
You have 2 minutes.
This will only take about 10 seconds, I think. You know, what about animal scientific research in animal clinics? I mean, so we're not really, we didn't talk about human, so you could have a animal hospital clinic there as well.
sure? Nope,
Just thought I'd throw that
that's
out.
fine.
But that would fit, though, wouldn't it?
It would fit.
Yeah, well, what's the ooh about? I mean,
Well,
so,
you could have, it could be, I don't know, I'm just saying, is that part of what you want to go in that partial location or anywhere
I
similar
wouldn't
to
see what
that?
the difference would be. You're not going to be,
Treating
you're not going to,
Feel.
you're not, unless you're going to have PETA.
Just kidding, Mr. Evans.
I just don't know.
Unless you don't want to have PETA over here protesting, but, you know, it's, you know, these things are done in buildings. We're not out there watching things happen on the ground, and even if you had animal research and things, but I think we can get carried away with some of these things as well, and I do understand that, you know, you do open the door, but, I mean, we're trying to pull in more medical and research, every kind of medical we can talk about here. This is one of our prime, you know, primary, you know, industries that we look at here. So I just do not want to see us take clinics and put it as a secondary or ancillary use, because I think that limits what people can come in there with, and I don't know, who knows if Proton Therapy Center will ever go in there, but if it does, it's mainly a clinic. That's their main thrust, with scientific research along with it. And I've studied proton therapy centers, so, and I really understand what they do there.
You are an expert on everything.
Yeah, I have to. Some of those things.
Grinder pumps?
Some of those things come up in your life, and you're just forced to understand them. And,
Foot candles,
yep,
that's right.
foot candles,
All right.
got that. But I do think that we really need to look at this, and if people are not comfortable with it, maybe we need some time.
There's a motion, there's a amendment on the floor Are we ready to vote on the amendment?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay, all those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Maybe raise your hand on this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All those opposed, raise your hand. Motion carries. We're back to the amendment, the motion as amended. Is there any further discussion on that? If not, all in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's unanimous. All right. Motion carries on, that is the second of 3 readings. Item number 13 is a public hearing, consideration of ordinance 2010-47 as amended to be entitled an ordinance to amend Chapter 3, Section 3.4.4 and 3.4.5 and Chapter 4, Section 4.3.2 of the City of Franklin zoning ordinance regulating development within the floodway overlay district and the floodway fringe overlay districts. Anybody wish to address this body on that subject? If not, I will declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion
Move for approval.
and a second?
Second.
Discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Mayor? could
Yes,
I-
sir.
On number 12,
Yes.
it's kind of been understood, but at some point, we will have an ordinance applying this scientific research overlay zoning district to certain appropriate places.
It's in the total, isn't it in the IC zoning itself?
It's in CI zoning.
It's in CI zoning.
But I think we would
Have to have
Don't we have to-
specific places
specific
to put it.
locations for it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
You're right,
it
you're
will
right.
exist on the books,
Right.
and then we can put it on, we can apply it.
Yeah.
Yes,
So someone will make that happen.
we will make that happen.
Yeah, you're right, good point. Just want to make sure, I did get the vote, and we're good on that, okay. I got the affirmative, I guess it was unanimous, okay. We're on to new business, item, that's twice I got in the middle between yes and the nay, so. Item number 14, consideration of ordinance 2010-67, ordinance to amend ordinance number 2009-23, adopting a budget for the fiscal year 2009-2010. These are year-end budget amendment ordinance, establishing a public hearing on October 26th. This is the first of 3 readings. Is there a motion?
I move for approval.
And a second? Second. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Item number 15, consideration of letter of engagement with PFM Asset Management for swap valuation service. Need a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item number 16, consideration of resolution 2010-69, a resolution of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for the City of Franklin establishing a new retirement plan for employees hired on or after February 15th, 2010.
Move approval.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion other than hallelujah?
It just seems like it turned out to be a good
Yeah.
resolution of this concern that we had.
I agree. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. And item number 17, rejection of bid received for surplus property consisting of the 2 institutional structures, the old jail and the old jail, including the single parcel of land, map and parcel number 63N-BO 6400, located at 112 and 118 Bridge Street. Do I hear a motion to reject?
Move
So
to
moved.
reject.
And a second?
I'll
How about-
second. I'll
okay.
second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Item number 18, consideration request to abandon unused right-of-way on London Lane. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Well, I move that we, I
Well,
think
we
it
got a
needs to be
motion.
approval.
I got a motion to approve.
Approve what? And we need to
To
approve to
abandon
abandon it,
the-
right?
Just to abandon
Which
it.
was not the
And then it
staff
comes-
recommendation?
The motion was to abandon the
Okay,
unused
good.
right-of-way.
I second.
Any discussion on that? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Item number 19, consideration of request to abandon a portion of the public right-of-way for the alley between 817 Evans Street and 108 Lewisburg Pike. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Any discussion on that? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item number 20, we need to defer that.
to our special work session to be scheduled, we believe, October
Okay, do I hear a
14th.
motion to defer item 20 to a special work session due to determine later?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Motion carries unanimously. Item number 21, consideration of professional services agreement with Kleinert Engineer Associates for the design of the McEwen Drive at Wilson Pike Intersection Improvements Project. Need a motion
Motion to approve.
and a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item number 28, I would like to have a motion to defer this until October 12th.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Motion carries unanimously. I would now like to have a motion to go to executive session.
Could you adjourn this meeting and then,
No, we got to come back and do that, don't we?
isn't it cleaner to adjourn this meeting?
You're gonna have to come back to, however you want to do it. If you want to go ahead and.
Let's just go to executive session, we'll come back and adjourn the meeting. And all those in favor to go to executive
Didn't
session, say aye. Aye. We covered it.
No? What'd she say we did?
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. We are adjourned.